Brother Charles, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm great. It's good to sit with you, have a chance to catch up. We haven't done this in a while.
Absolutely, since 2020.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is awesome.
That first interview was amazing.
Yes, always good
that
to
was
sit
very,
down.
very touching to me.
Yes, it's me as well, and I
Yeah.
think the Urban Homeworks community as well. So thank you for sitting down again.
Absolutely.
And we'll just do quick introductions. So I'm AsaleSol Young, the Executive Director of Urban Homeworks, and this is my dear brother.
Charles Caine, National President of Brothers Empowered.
Yes, and of course we're not biological siblings, just for those that haven't picked up on that.
Right.
But we're sitting down today to talk about the partnership between Brothers Empowered, which Charles founded, and Urban Homeworks, a partnership that came together to really help Urban Homeworks maintain a community of safety and peacekeeping for our residents. So Charles, I think the best way to start is really your introduction to Urban Homeworks.
Yeah. Wow. I got a really deep and long relationship with Urban Homework as you know, as a Urban Homework resident for about 7 years, 8 years now. So Urban Homework's been good to me for 7, 8 years. Just providing a safe, cozy home to live in and raise my sons as a single father. That meant a lot to me. And also, as a single father, trying to get on his feet. So that was a blessing just to have Urban Homework, organization like that. So it's been a good relationship. And what's even more exciting is I founded Brothers Empowered around the time when I got into Urban Homework. So it allowed me to be stable, and then with stability, being able to go ahead and start my dream and my purpose. So stability is important, stable housing, and then I was able to go ahead and start my dream and my purpose in life. So, and it also be a better parent. So that's been amazing. And then seeing how with my organization and the partnerships that we have done with Urban Homework over the years has been excellent.
That's really beautiful.
A lot of support from Urban Homework with Brothers Empowered. So
yes, that's beautiful, and it's honestly an honor as an organization to be a part of your personal story in that way. Tell us a little bit about that dream.
Well, that dream, was something that was kind of birthing to me as a kid. As a youngster, it was kind of a struggle just growing up, growing up in a single parent home, growing up, in the hood, and just having to kind of learn how to be a man on my own. I had my grandfather. He was a very inspirational person to me, and kind of kept me in some type of balance. But being 2, 3 generations away from each other, there was so much he could do. So, just being in the hood, in a gang-infested neighborhood, crime and gang-infested neighborhood, where I had to basically, survive. So in order to survive, I had to kind of, find, build relationships with those other, those members of those gangs and, in my community. I was always impressionable and liked, and the big homies used to just take me under their wings. So, to me, it was like, a sense of security, brotherhood, family, but it was a false sense, what I grew to discover. And I struggled in many areas. Rejection, neglection, loneliness, fear, self-hatred, bitterness, unforgiveness, just so many underlying issues and struggles being a black man in America. But then trained and taught to not show any emotions or feelings and cover those things up. So when I went home, I would show those emotions and feelings listening to Tupac, crying in my mirror. But couldn't nobody see that, because in my neighborhood, when when we was growing up, that was a sign of weakness, and that was a sign of vulnerability, and that's something that would compromise my survival, you know, in the struggle, in the jungle, in the strong struggle. So, all in all, through this process, I still knew that I was supposed to be something great. So I had a sense of hope. I grew up in a home that gave me values, you know, morals. We had family values. I had some stories of great men in my family, being that I have a, you know, my family is African, West African, Liberian, so I'm African American, first generation. So I got those stories of the great men that I was connected to, chiefs in my family, tribal chiefs, political chiefs, you know, and stuff like that. So I knew that I was destined for greatness. So it gave me a hope. I didn't know how I was going to be great. So that was the difference between me and my friends. I had some sense of hope. I had some sense of belonging to something bigger than myself. But I didn't know, I didn't have the true direction. So when I found that true direction, it came in becoming a parent. That's when I had something to live for, bigger than myself. I was growing up in life and I was suicidal. I didn't care about life. I had hatred towards the world. I was just a dark, bitter person. And, you know, everybody knew this around me. You know what I'm saying? You know, even my homeboys were scared to be in conflict with me because they thought I would do something to harm them. And I didn't know people had that perception. I'm like, man, we friends. Why would you think I would shoot you if you got into a fight with me? But this was the perception from people around me, but it was because of that self-hatred, the anger, the rage, the hurt inside. And that's why I know what a lot of these young men are going through. You know, they're not gonna say it, but I could look right through them like a mirror and understand what's really going on inside of these youngsters that's in our community causing terror. A lot of them have been abandoned, rejected, don't have any fathers. They had to grow up early. They've been nights without food. They've been in shelters. They've been molested, raped. They've been, you know what I'm saying? Their house been kicked over. They had lost siblings, families. I mean, death is common to them. They're going through all these different emotions that they don't understand or they can't control. And the only thing that they can identify themselves with is causing more hurt.
Right.
And, you know, that's that superficial family or connection, or that comes from the gangs and the cliques.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that survival system that shows that you have to build a name or, you know, do something outrageous to get noticed. So these are the things I used to do, you know, so I understand it very well. When I became a father was a very defining moment in my life. And that's when I realized that I wanted to give my son something that I didn't have. Because I realized that if me and my friends had fathers or good father figures, we wouldn't have bumped our heads as much. You know, so I wanted to give my son that, a stable, grounded, solid, sound-minded, you know, father to be in his life. So, you know, I eliminated a lot of my connections and ties with, you know, the streets activities, street homeboys and friends. And I started my personal journey to healing and deliverance, and my personal journey is what I called it. And I had to do a lot of self-reflecting. I had to go into self. It made it easier because years prior to that, I spent a lot of time reading the Bible, you know, and I read the Quran, you know, I read different, you know, I read and learned on spirituality, you know, so the Bible gave me a lot of tools that I ended up using to help me overcome those barriers and those challenges. And those are some of the tools we use right now with the young men that we mentor. But those tools just helped me to self-reflect and kind of go deep and see what are the things that I'm struggling with, and just to be real with myself, not point the finger, not blame nobody, but what the issues do I have within? Because my goal was to raise an eagle, but I understood I can't raise an eagle if I'm a chicken or a turkey. You know what I'm saying? So I had to become that eagle in order to raise an eagle. So I went and I did some self-reflecting. I wrote on the paper all the issues that I had internally, not externally, not the world and the system and the white man and I can't get it. No, I had to go to the internal, because my grandfather would always tell me this African proverbs that if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. So I had a lot of great teachings from him that kept me grounded. So I went and I wrote a list of issues that I had: abandonment, rejection, fear, neglection, self-hatred, bitterness, just all the different issues that I had within. And then once I wrote it down on paper, the next step was to find the solutions mentally to help me with that, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So a lot of the things that I utilized was those scriptures that I had read before, quotes and statements and proverbs and stuff like that. And I would find the specific ones that lined up with the issues that I had. And so I had an anxiety problem growing up, because obviously, gunshots in my neighborhood, my doors being kicked in several times as a child, with police coming in, looking for, narcotics that wasn't there or whatever. I'm a little kid, my little sister's probably 4, slam us all down on the floor. Our home's been burglarized. I've come home before and everything was gone as a kid, 10, 9 years old, 11. Everything was gone. And just even walking to school, the process of just getting to school safe, you know what I'm saying? Walking, in between 2 or 3 other, neighborhoods to get to school, gangs or whatever. But this is a lot of our reality growing up in urban America, a lot of young men and young women. So I had a lot of trauma that I discovered that I dealt with, and I had a lot of mental and emotional instability that led into a lot of anxiety. I really had bad anxiety even growing up in school, even to the point that, sometimes in class I couldn't focus. I would kind of get in sweats. I would, my vision would get blurry and my energy would drain, to the point that, it could happen within 5 minutes. I could be good right now, and then I also struggled with, I had a good heart. I was a very good-hearted person, because I cared about the kid that was getting bullied. I felt his pain when it was like they were talking to me, so I could feel his pain, and I would stick up for those getting bullied. But then there was another side that had to, live up to this image of, being a tough guy that I struggled and wrestled with. So that would even lead to more confusion and self-hatred within, because, I cared about people, but then I was still this bitter, hateful, dark person. So I was confused about who I was. But being caring in this community, in my neighborhood, is a sign of weakness. So I can't really be caring, can I? So this was the struggles that I was going through that also hurt. That also has a lot to do with my anxiety also. My poor performance in school and things like that. Or, poor friendships, or things like relationships and things of that nature. So I took a passage from the scriptures that said, and I directed specifically to my anxiety attack, and at that time in my life, I couldn't make one major decision without getting fatigued, without my vision getting blurry, without, my palms getting sweaty. I couldn't make one major decision. Without those things happening to me, affecting my day. So I took a scripture, I have the spirit of love, power, and a sound mind, plus peace that surpasses all understanding. I can do and endure all things through Christ. I mixed a few things up, and I would meditate on that every day. Every day, every day, like 500,000 times. Maybe not 500,000 times a day, but I would meditate on that. So that's where my passion for mental conditioning came in, and meditation came in, and positive self-talk and affirmation. Those are some of the things that we teach the boys that we mentor now. So
take us from, so you're on this self journey, which is, I would say for a young person, very inspired and wise from the sound of it. You're in the middle of trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Surrounded
in
by
my early 20s.
Early 20s, surrounded by all kinds of violence and trauma. And you were empowering yourself. And at some point in that journey of self and young person and son, something
Translated.
Something moved and said, I need to take this to my community. I need to take this to the
Absolutely.
brothers and sisters that I know are experiencing the same things.
Absolutely.
What was that moment for you?
That moment was when the tools I was using actually worked. One day I just woke up and I just noticed I haven't had an anxiety attack in a long time. Or I didn't even notice when was my last anxiety attack. And I'm like, oh, this stuff worked. And I started doing more, going down them other things on the list, checking those other things on the list. And in that process of self, development, in my journey, I discovered a lot of things about myself. You know what I'm saying? And I had to take accountability, take initiative. I had to forgive. I had to let go of certain things. I had to, in order to overcome, it was a process that I had to do. And when I got to a place where I felt that I had a sense of achievement, I hadn't arrived. I still ain't arrived yet. I'm still working on my journey. Every day I wake up. But when I got to a sense of achievement, that's when I realized, and being a father, taking care of my kids. At that time I had two. I had another one, and I was working I was doing some stuff with the Father Project. The Citizen Father Project was actually the first organization that I helped build. That's a leadership component of the Father Project, the Citizen Father Project. When I was there is when I got the passion to give back. Because I was a father that got into the Father Project, came in for some assistance and some help, and I was one of their success stories, their leaders that was very influential. And I would look at the other fathers and hear their stories, and I'm like, man, I want to do something bigger than just what I'm doing. And that's where the passion for giving back came in, which was consistent with my vision as a kid when I realized I was here for something bigger than myself. So mix the two together, and that's when Brothers in Power was developed. I would go to my son's school, and I would go in the classroom, and I would greet the other kids and see how they would draw onto me. They would, my son would still be focused on his work because he just focused. And all the other boys in the class are like excited to see this male come to the class. Like they've never seen a male come to the class, a black man come to the classroom. And I realized a lot of these boys didn't have fathers. So my thing was, creating pillars in the community, in the black community, men who are invested into the lives and into the lives of the women and children, into economics, into, politics, whatever in the community, you know what I'm saying? The well-being of the community. And I've started realizing that, looking at other communities that were thriving and noticing that these communities have men who are stable and who are invested into their community.
Yes.
So, and I noticed that we have a lot of reason why men are not where they should be in the black community, whether it is mass incarceration, the welfare system, whether it is, drug and alcohol abuse, whatever it is. Yet, I didn't want to focus on the reason, the systematic reason, whatever, but I wanted to do what I could where I was at to find solutions. So I've always been influential, and people would always had looked up to and admired me. And when I was younger, I was using it for negative things. So this was an opportunity in my life to use my influence for something positive for my community.
I love that. I love the connection. Just recognizing how you use it as a young person, almost like taking on a responsibility as an adult to almost heal and rectify the harms that you caused as a young person, as a lost young person. That's incredibly powerful, and I imagine that in your mentorship programs that shines really bright for those young people.
It's the best, one of the best things that could have happened to me in life. And it started with my kids, but then I realized that it's not just about my household. I realized as a man, if I just focus on what's in my four walls, I'm doing my children a disservice. Because they got to go out there and ride the bus with Pookie. They got to go in class with Johnny. They got to go, they got to play on the football team with Ron. And if he ain't got a dad, he ain't got dad. His brother teach him how to cook crack. He teach him how to load a pistol. You know what I'm saying? And whatever, that is going to rub off on my children at some point. Because even leaders are influenced by people they like.
Absolutely.
Naturally, as human beings, we're influenced by people that we like or hang around a lot.
Absolutely.
And I learned that because I had a buddy who he would always say this certain slang. Like, he would always say, he would talk he had his own slang. And we would, in just subconsciously out of nowhere, us and our rest of our friends would just talk like him. You know what I'm saying? Or like he would say stuff like, he had like an E40 Snoop Dogg type slang that he would do, and we would just mimic it sometime without even knowing. And I realized, dang, it's that easy to be influenced by your friends and your peers. So, and it wasn't like he was a leader over us or nothing, but we liked him. He was fun. We all was our own leaders. We all had our own different cliques that we ran with, but we were all just friends.
He was a homie.
He was the homie. So we laugh about some of the stuff he used to say to this day, but that's how I realized how impressionable it is for young people or anyone who are around someone that they're like. Your vulnerability, you're kind of vulnerable because your walls go down subconsciously. That's why sometimes you could be around someone that's singing a song that you don't even like, but then all of a sudden you're in the shower and you're humming this. Why the heck am I singing this song? I don't even like this song. You know what I'm saying?
That happens to me all the time.
So I realized the power of influence and what it's doing in our community, and I wanted to be that influence for those boys who didn't have fathers. And I wanted to be that influence for those brothers who really wanted to break away from a certain lifestyle, but they were afraid. When I left my clique, I had to be alone. I didn't have friends for a long time. That's scary. I had to learn how to survive on my own. I was lonely. And I was already dealing with loneliness issues, but now I don't have no friends. I don't have no protection. I don't have no nobody to hang out with. I don't have nobody, if something go down, I could call, hey, I need y'all to come through. I don't, so that is or there's another thing that a lot of people are afraid of too, that's in gangs and cliques, is just being exiled, being now an op, you know what I'm saying, of your own clique. So I became a father, said I ain't with that no more, and what happened to me was something that don't happen all the time. The guys that I ran with, I gained more influence from leaving. I gained more admiration, respect. They like, man, Charles, like, if you could change, anybody can. Well, they used to call me killer. If you could change, anybody could change. And that's what people felt. Like, if Caine can change, anybody can change. So I gained way more influence from leaving that culture, leaving that lifestyle, than staying. And that's when it just clicked, and all that combined was like, yo, this is my purpose. This is what I'm here in this world to do.
Yes. Ashe, amen. I love that. So I'm going to bring folks into the urban homework part of this story.
Yeah.
I feel like we could absorb your wisdom all day.
Oh, man.
But let's talk about our partnership. So I want to go back to 2022 when, as we all know, things shut
2020,
down.
you mean 2020?
I said 2022.
You ready?
Oh my
You ready for the
goodness.
end of the
I
year?
know, I'm ready for this year to be over. That's really true. But let's go back to 2020.
2020, yeah.
Everything shut down. We all know there's COVID happening. I
man.
remember COVID.
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
the day that things shut down. The day, it was a Wednesday, because I remember being in the office, the Urban Homeworks office on Emerson.
You remember that exact day?
I remember it exactly. It was my last time in the office for 2020.
Man, yeah.
And I was working on making plans. You know, we were all making plans in 2020,
Yeah,
envisioning
2020
things
was,
we
yeah,
wanted to get done.
That was a big year. It was a big year.
It was March.
Yeah.
So I remember that very well. And so things shut down, and we all kind of went through that together, and we were all looking to figure out how to self-sustain, but stay connected, make sure nobody got left behind in our communities, right? At Urban Homeworks, it was really important to make sure our residents understood the connection points, right? There are a lot of organizations supplying things, and we wanted to make sure our residents had access both in North and South. And you all were doing your own work to make sure that community had what it needed.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, I remember 2020 when it happened to my son. Was going for a state championship with Mini High Academy. So that was, we were one game away. We won the game to go to the state, the championship. So as a freshman, that would have been a good opportunity for him. So, and once the NBA shut down, that's when it was like a trickle effect. Everybody shut down. So I remember that keenly too. I don't remember the exact day like you, but I also remember that I just felt the sense of as a leader in the community and for Brothers Empowered, we had to do something. There was something that we had to do to be able to serve our community in this crisis. And that's because that's just the foundation that the organization was built on. And it's all about servanthood, servitude to the community, serving the community. That's big for me because it's all about the youth being able to visualize and see positive men in their community that look like them doing things positive. Because it's so they could just look outside anywhere, any corner, and see men like them, that look like them doing negative. So that imagery is just consistent in their mind, and now they're just going to gravitate to negativity easier. So the more positive imagery we can show them, then that can help them make a decision on what lifestyle do I really want. I want to be hanging on the corner smoking and shaking, shooting dice and drinking like them? Or do I want to be a part of something bigger that can help my community, can create a way, I don't know how, that we can serve our community through this pandemic?
Yes.
Got to be something we could do. I got a call from one of my partners who got a call from Breaking Bread, and they were looking for organizations that can kind of combat the food crisis during the pandemic, kids being at home, not, getting enough food or nutrition, things like that.
Right,
So,
because in a lot of our communities, there are food deserts.
Yeah,
right,
there's a lot of food there,
which
yep.
means that we don't have easy access
Exactly.
to healthy, sustainable food.
Exactly.
And then COVID just compounded that.
And now you got kids home all day doing online schooling and stuff like that. So there's more mouths to feed all day long. So they're not getting those 2-3 meals at school. So that's how we got connected with Breaking Bread. And Breaking Bread, we said, yeah, man, I was all for it. Let's do it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. 4
days a week, 200 to 300, how many meals you need? We could do 300. We could do 300 meals.
Yes.
and then I reached out to you guys, Urban Homework.
Yes.
Mark was working at that time, and I said, Mark, we need a location. We need a location where we can do this, and it's a good central area. And I thought about a few different locations, but I'm like, that's the best. I gotta hit my peoples up.
Emerson and Broadway.
Central location.
Yes.
So Mark made it happen, did what he had to do on his end, and that was the beginning of, and that was before you was the director. So that was the beginning of that partnership with the food giveaway. So we fed over 25,000 meals between North and South Minneapolis. I believe North was probably the bulk of the meals. And my people came out and volunteered their time, putting their life and health at risk, even though we did the measurements and proper health guideline things we had to do with masks and gloves and social distancing and everything like that. But yet still, it was a serious pandemic, and we were in the middle of the pandemic where it was at the highest rate, and people was confused, didn't know what was going on. There was a lot of uncertainty about what was going on with us, and with America, so with the world. So
you all became frontline workers.
We all became frontline workers, feeding the community. And at that moment, that was when we did that first interview between me and you. And I realized something. In 2020. At that moment, I realized that I was the richest man in Minnesota. And I'm not talking about financially yet, but I'm rich in people. I realized that this organization had some of the most key quality people that came and put their health in line. They came and put their health at risk, that their safety at risk, and was serving to the community with no other no other monetary gain, no other gain other than the passion and the love for the community. This has been consistent with Brothers in Power since creation, yet this type of thing was very sobering for me. And it just made me realize how great of a people that I have around me, and how great of a foundation we have set. And that's where the partnership started, and the talks about community safety, working together, doing some community safety, Brothers Empowered, Urban Homework, Mark and I was talking about the ideas, bringing it up, kind of how it would look and things like that. We also, during 2020, a lot of people was reaching out to us because of the George Floyd, the riots, the protests, the looting. And then there was a time period where white supremacists came into the community during that time. And there was a lot of things going on. There was a lot of fear in the community, a lot of mothers that would call because, they're afraid and, or they think, somebody's watching them or somebody's driving through their alley back and forth. Can you send some guys over here? So there was a lot of that going on. A lot of, women particularly that was afraid and felt like they needed to get their gun permit, just a lot of stuff. And I would remember as a leader and as an organizer, organizing with other leaders and with people in my organization at the parks, early mornings, secretly, can't talk on the phone. It was that type of time where it was like we were living in a movie.
Yep.
Where it was that type of time where it felt like for many years, even in the north side, in the hood, I felt like I didn't need to travel with a weapon. Even I felt like this is my community. I don't need to walk around, I don't need to travel with a gun. I ain't about that life no more. This is what I'm about. Everybody know that. Everybody respect that. I don't need, but during those times, after the George Floyd and the riots and the protesting and the looting and then the white supremacists coming, I felt like I needed a gun. I felt like I had to sleep with one. Sometimes it felt like I didn't even want to sleep at my residence. Sometimes I would just be up, sometimes I would drive around patrolling, and stuff like that. They actually wanted us to protect the highway entries, but we wasn't able to be armed, so we didn't do it because it would have been a death trap. That's not a good, if we're not. So that's when the whole community safety thing even got more, because it was the fact of we're not prepared enough as a people to protect our women and children as men in the community. We've been spending all this time fighting each other. We're not even in a position to protect each other if we had to. We're not. We can get ready. We got ready quick, but we should have been ready. So that's one of the things that kind of woke me up about the whole community safety piece. That led into what's going on with our youth. It led into what's going on with, our parents, our single mothers being able to feel protected. What's going on with, finding different alternatives for the young people to get into and get engaged, to get them out the gangs, out the cliques. What's going on with, getting able-bodied men who are passionate about doing something in their community that, will come together and, be consistent about, a lot of things, their health, their mental health, their physical health, their, relationships, and to be in a position where we can respond to our community if we're in need.
Yes. So for the sake of just time, I'm going to we're going to move forward again. So we have the 2022 foundation, we have COVID, people having a lack of resources, intensified. We have the murder of George Floyd. We have the subsequent uprising and the subsequent response to the uprising by white supremacists or racists, that all prepared you for 2021. And 2021, from the Urban Homeworks perspective, has been this sort of slow unraveling of all the traumas from 2020, all of the lack, whether that's lack in community connection because of COVID, the lack of resources, again compounded by COVID, and I think even this underlying anger from 2020, where we all got to a point where no one could deny that there are a lot of systems that are not working for all of us equally, right? So now we're in 2021, and we as an organization are experiencing our single mothers, the youth that live in our residence, being scared because there is increased violence. There are more bullet holes, stray bullets coming through our properties. There's more drug activity, more prostitution and gang activity in our communities. And so from our perspective, we had to hustle in a way that we hadn't before, to really find solutions to maintain a feeling of community connectedness and safety for our residents. And we went through the sort of system challenges, the system pathways to try to find safety and security. We called our 4th precinct. We had conversations with their community liaison. We called our city council folks, our Northside City Council folks, had direct conversations with them. And we were finding that our hustle to literally participate in the system as it's been established was completely ineffective, was taking up a lot of time and resources. And so the other piece that we were, of course, keeping in mind is that undeniably after 2020, the police don't always show up, haven't always shown up in our communities with the community at center, with community interest at center. So we had it was a very just challenging moment as an organization to try to navigate and make these decisions. And, you were not far from my mind. It was like, we need someone who can come in, who understands the community dynamics, who cares, is automatically going to put community at the center and help us together figure out how we create a sense of safety and security. So you all have been out in Southside neighborhoods and in some of our Northside neighborhoods, hustling. And tell us, again, because I want people to get to that story of what's happening today.
Yeah, what's happening now. Yeah, this has been a long journey we could talk about. And the thing about it is, we have been doing peacekeeping. We've been calling it peacekeeping for about 6 years. We've been doing contracts, events, stuff on Broadway. We've worked with the Westboro Area Council Coalition, Open Street. We've done several Open Street, West Broadway, Black Friday, different things like that, right? So that's how we started doing peacekeeping, doing those things for different events on Broadway. Also, what was the my mind is on freeze. So, but y'all gonna have to edit this.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're trying to remember.
Juneteenth. Juneteenth. That was a key event that we did peacekeeping for, that a lot of other groups didn't want to do because of that was at that specific time where white supremacist threat was,
Right, I remember that.
and
Yep.
and I said, when they contact me, say, hey, we contact so and so they don't want to do it. They said, and I'm like, yeah, we do, we got it, and we got a group of guys that have been doing it for a while, so that's part of the organization. So organizing 15 guys 20 guys wasn't a problem. And we did it for, on a low budget. So my guys was like, oh, that's fine. We'll do it anyway for the community. As long as I say, oh, it's for the community, giving back. This is our way to give back. Around this time is protect our women and children at this event. Yeah, I'm down. Mark me in. So when it came to this relationship doing the peacekeeping with urban homework, it was very natural and organic because we built a good relationship together, and we understand, the struggles of the residents, and I think one of the things is community members that's out there that knows the community, that has a heart for the community, that, my people are passion-based first, not paycheck. If you don't have a passion for the community, you ain't about giving back, this the wrong organization for you. And that's just that, because, and that's just what it is. This is not the right organization for you. So, so when we got men that's out there doing what they're doing, peacekeeping, rest assured these are men that are really about the community and giving back. So,
So talk about your approach, when you're out there in each neighborhood, which our neighborhoods are not monolithic, right? These incidences are not all the same. You got to think about sometimes it's gun violence, sometimes it's prostitution and drug sales. So how do you?
So going into that, we have been kind of creating a model. You know what I'm saying? We didn't want to be like everybody else that have done this. Any other group that has done neighborhood patrol, or what I'm saying, we didn't want to be the same. We wanted to be something different. We wanted to have something that everything we do, we want it to be connected with something that is sustainable and that can make like real change. Real change. We don't want to just put a Band-Aid on something. We really want to make an impact. So being that we have really got our foundation is giving back. Our core values is giving back. That was a good way to start this model, to piggyback off this model. So when we were having those talks, that's when it became really realistic to me that, that we're moving into a different era. We just came from COVID. We just had all this happening with George Floyd, and all this violence that has sprout out since then. Because I also am a youth violence prevention specialist with Hennepin County Medical Center in North Memorial. So I'm actually witnessing and seeing all the ones that are coming to the hospital from, level 1 trauma assaults, gunshot victims, stab victims. I'm working with these people and their families. So I'm getting different approaches of this. So for me, it was creating a system, a model that we can take in any neighborhood across the globe and implement. Any neighborhood. We could go to we can go Los Angeles, take it in South Central Los Angeles and utilize it. We could take this in Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy, utilize it. We take this South Side, Chicago, and utilize it. So it was creating a system. So, and this partnership with you guys allowed us to, not only create that system, but also implement that system. And the system is utilizing what we do best, community engagement, actively community engagement with outreach, things that we do naturally in the community, building relationships. So we utilize outreach. For 7 years, we've been doing really well in community engagement. And what I found especially through 2020, when we fed all those meals, what I found out is community engagement don't stop. I mean, community outreach does not stop crime. It ain't gonna stop no crime, because we fed 25,000 people. As soon as they lifted the quarantine, that's when all the shootings went down. So it don't stop crime. But what it does do, we discovered, is it builds relationship. It builds relationship. You get to know who's who in your community. You get to kind of sense, you get to know who's about the community, because they're going to come out and say, hey man, I want to do something like this. You get to know who's really not about the community, because they ain't trying to be seen with homo. You get to know, you know, the mothers, the grandmothers, you know what I'm saying, the leaders in the community, the ones that know where everything going on. Yeah, they was, you know, they would tell you what's going on. So you get to build those relationships. Plus now you got that imagery of positivity going on. So now you know what line we at. We the positive guys over here. You know what it's about. So that's what we utilize outreach for. So we wanted to do something that will take what we've been doing best, one of the things that we've been doing best, and kind of magnify it and join it to something even bigger. So active community engagement with community organizing and community outreach. Then you have Brothers in Power Peacekeepers. So the model also is not just about engaging with the residents and building relationship, but it's also about kind of giving them the support and the courage and, you know, the confidence in being proactive about their own safety too. You know, so that's one of the so what we've done is we've worked with the neighborhood associations in each community to kind of get residents involved in some of the decision making in their own community. That's what we want to do. We want to engage, get residents connected with the neighborhood, the neighborhood organizations, to get engaged in their own safety as well too. So they can feel a sense, because people feel a sense of uncertainty but lack of hope. Like they have no control of what's going on, because you can't talk, you can't snitch, or you'll be a victim. You live here. You can't, you know what I'm saying, you can't call the police, or they'll know that you did it. So now you become a prisoner in your own community because of these young boys running rampant. So we wanted to take something that was going to bring outreach and active community engagement, along with organizing, kind of galvanizing residents, and also organizing with community leaders and other organizations in the community, and then also working with the young people to provide mentorship. So and all those combined is what we have created a system on that, you know, we've implemented through you guys in the Ventura Village neighborhood. And because of that, we have been able to meet PPL, Norway House, Hope House, Ventura Village Neighborhood Association. Because of that, we have done a successful event that residents who wouldn't normally be outside, who kids wouldn't normally be outside playing, running, enjoying the park, being in a bouncy house, riding their bike, was able to come outside and do. So this system allows community members to really have really have their hands invested in not only lives, but, you know, more impactful lives and safer lives and safer environments. So it's not an officer that doesn't live in the community coming in. You know, we can't expect them to do much, but, you know, protect and serve like they're supposed to. You know what I'm saying? The protect and serve like they're supposed to. Because if they're not part of the community, they don't know the community. They don't have a passion, a heart for the community, a heart for the people. They don't they never really sat and talked to the mothers and the kids and saw about not being able to go outside, not being able to go to the park across the street. They don't know that, and they didn't grow up in that environment to understand that. So, now this model brings people who are in the community, who are invested in the community, who are part of the community, to be more of a solution base when it comes to their safety.
Absolutely. It's a form of deeper civic engagement. It's a form of a network.
Absolutely.
You know who you can call. You know when you're not able to be at home, who you can just, are my kids okay? Are they home yet? Have they walked in the door?
Absolutely.
Oh, I feel unsafe. There's some folks sitting on my stoop,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know them, and I'm nervous. You know who to call. You know how to engage.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing I'll just say for the sake, again,
Can I share some success stories?
I was going to do that, bringing our audience into how well this partnership has gone. So as I said at the beginning, Urban Homeworks, we really try to work with the community, work within the systems that exist, particularly around gun violence. When things like prostitution or drug activity are happening, we try alternative ways automatically. But when there's things like gun violence, we tried to look to those who had protection, the police, against gun violence. The police are well funded to have that response. And what we found, what we were reminded of, is the lack of show up in our communities, which is a historic problem. This was not a new 2021 pattern.
Yeah.
A lot of times folks in the neighborhoods that we serve call the police and get no response, or a very delayed response.
Or even if you call, you might not like the response you get. So, being a black man growing up in urban America, police have not been our best friend. There's so many traumatic experiences and stories that us as minorities in the hood
Yes.
have with police.
Yes, and not just, and I would say, if you are black or brown anywhere in this country, I think it's a misconception. The automatic tie to poverty or urban areas.
Well,
but if you're black or brown in this
anywhere,
country,
absolutely,
we've seen some of the wealthiest black and brown people
yeah,
be assaulted by the police.
Yeah.
So recognizing that, but I do want to just shout you all out. So one of the things many things we've experienced in that, what was it, a month trial that we did together?
Yeah, we did like a 5-week type, 5-6, it's about 5 weeks. We counted 6 with the event.
Yeah, so a month and a half trial.
Yeah.
And, we went from having, again, parents calling us, coming to our office, crying, just feeling completely hopeless about the situation, to calling you all, as soon as something goes down, it's like, okay, because you all got to know our residents in those communities, so they knew who to call when you all weren't necessarily working. Mm-hmm. And the feedback that I've gotten is that you would respond, even if you weren't working, mm-hmm. even if you weren't on those days or those hours, and just post up and make sure that people felt safe. Mothers with daughters feeling like they could let their young girls leave the house. Like you said, people have been feeling trapped in their own communities.
It's, I'm going to tell you something, AsaleSol, that you might not know. Prior to doing this 6-week trial period with you guys, I was really struggling. As a single father, as a leader, as a man, I was struggling, and I felt like, I feel like we're not doing enough. Like, maybe I'm not doing enough, or I'm not doing the right thing. I know what's going on? I mean, it's just what's going on in the community, or should I even really be doing this anymore? So going into this, I kind of was like, you know what, man, I'm burnt out. I'm a single parent. Maybe I just need to focus on my kids and maybe not the community as much as I'm doing, because I'm not getting the results that I want from other leaders. I'm not getting results from what I want from people that have the resources. I'm not getting the result that I want from some of the community members. So maybe I just need to take a break. So, but everything in me was saying, no, do it. Do the 6 weeks. Let's do it. We did the 6 weeks. Best thing that ever happened to me. Every time in a model.
Yes.
And, because for me it was like, okay, now I'm already doing so many things. Now that's just one more thing to do. But it became for us, I think it was God's sent. It was God's purpose, creating this community safety model, creating this Brothers Empowered Peacekeeper model. Like I said, we've done peacekeeping before, but we didn't have a model.
Yes.
We didn't have something tangible that can be read and can be done year in a community.
Yes.
So we had only done events before. We have never done residential housing in neighborhoods.
Yes.
So that's a whole different type of security.
Yes.
So, going into that, creating that model was important. But man, being able to connect with the residents and just seeing their gratitude. We were there to oversee 2 of your properties, urban homework properties.
Areas.
Yet, across the street felt our presence. Down the street felt our presence. The house next door, the whole block felt our residents just having us present. Just having men that look like them, men in the community that look like men from the community present. And one of the things that, the first thing that we did, we got on the ground, we started introducing ourselves, actively community building, introducing ourselves, giving out our cards. We even took some numbers. Hey, you mind if we have your number? If we need to call you for anything, yeah, you'd call us too. Everybody that walked down the block, I don't care if you a dope boy, a thug, a addict, a prostitute. I told my guys, we got to speak and engage everybody.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So for us, it was coming into a new neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? But it was coming. We wanted to be open. We wanted to be firm, but we wanted to be open, approachable, should I say? We didn't want to come like we were coming as a threat, but we were coming serious about business. So we're here. We don't know you guys. We don't know the residents. We don't know the shooters, but we're here, and we're introducing ourselves to everybody. First thing. So next thing was just our approach. If crisis happened, if we got into an incident or a situation, kind of navigating that approach. But the residents, the big thing about it is they were so grateful to have our presence there. Just to have us there made them feel safe. There were stories of gunshot. There was one night there was a shooting. I was on the north side. I was there, and the 2 residents came outside and they were like, "Oh, my daughter said, the shooting happened." And I'm paraphrasing, but the daughter was like, "Oh, they shooting outside, but my protectors are out there, so I'm okay." Basically, you know what I'm saying? I'm paraphrasing. I'm not saying it exactly how it was said to me, but the little girl felt safe just from our presence. So that made me realize that just a visible presence alone. But this was a different type of visual presence because that. So even the way the uniform that we wear, with the hazardous vest that we wear, I've learned from that too. That vest, the bright orange, it gives up a different vibe. It's a bold but non-threatening vibe. So when you see someone with that in your neighborhood or with any hazardous vest, you know they're doing something productive. These are productive people. They're either doing some construction, cleaning up, or they're doing something productive, right? So we were received by not only residents, but we were also received by even the thugs, the dope boys, the hustlers. We would pull up for our shift and they would just walk away because they knew what we was out there for. We introduced ourselves and they knew what we was about. So when we pull up, they just moved around. And I contribute that to, yes, our vest, but also just black men doing something productive. Black productive men, part of the community, doing something productive. There's something admirable and respectful about that. You know what I'm saying? So, and then not only just that, the sweat equity that Brothers Empowered have put in the community, the sweat equity. That's why outreach is important, because we have made that investment. So even though we were on the opposite side of town, you know what I'm saying, but our reach has been spread through the Twin Cities, and people know about the organization. So I contribute that to our sweat equity and just the imagery that we provided, that we made, that safe, productive imagery of black men doing something constructive in their community. And the block, from what I'm told by residents, even the security down the street at PPL, when we're there, it's a desert. As soon as y'all leave, you know, it's like everybody comes. So for the sake of
it's 12. And so I really want to make sure that people understand what it takes to do this work differently, to do peacekeeping from a community-centered position, what kind of financial resources that takes. Because ultimately, you all are willing to show up for your community regardless. But one of the things that we at Urban Homeworks love about working with Brothers Empowered is that you all do restorative justice training. You all do training around domestic violence, so that you can engage regardless of gender interaction and make everybody feel safe. You do conflict resolution, and you prefer to show up unarmed, although you do have capacity to do that where necessary, right? And so that is why at Urban Homeworks we really look to you as a trusted partner. Your aim is community center. Your aim is everyone feels safe in that space. And that costs money. It costs money for you to do the training. It costs money for you to have the protective gear that you need to have the gear that says we're not here to be stealthy. We're not on some kind of, there's no malintent. Right. And the hours. You're not playing games, and the hours to actually be frontline workers, to be on the ground in community, that all costs a lot of money. People are putting their lives on the line. Absolutely. To protect the community. People are putting their lives on the line where the police are not responsive. The police are not showing up. So it's a big ask that we have had of you as an organization, as a housing organization. It's a big ask. And it's a big ask of the community as well. And so I think my last piece is just to say to those watching that we are determined to have community safety in the areas where Urban Homeworks has housing. We are determined to continue partnering with the other housing organizations in our collective North and South Minneapolis communities to ensure peace for all genders, peace for all races. This is about community. This is not politics. Safety is not about politics. So it's not about politics. This is coming back to a legitimate community need based on healing. And that's why I really admire what you do, because you understand the journey of healing and the necessity for communities to heal. So Urban Homeworks is determined to continue a path of peacekeeping. We recognize that that's not necessarily where the city is going as a whole, though we are excited by the 43% that saw the necessity of change. And so we're going to continue to work with Brothers Empowered, and we're asking folks to really lean in with us and recognize that this is a holistic approach to safety. This isn't about who has the bigger gun. This is about love. It's about leading and protecting with love. So we're asking folks to join us. And Charles, as always, I get so much from time with you. I learned so much from you, from your heart. I love that you lead with your heart and you have the courage to say that as a Black man, I do lead with my heart.
Thank you.
So I'm just like sending you and your family so much love.
Yeah, appreciate that. It's not hard, I mean, it's not easy, but I think just accepting our duty to what we in accountability for our community as men is key. As an organization and as men in the organization is key. It's just what you have to do. There's no excuse about it. When manhood comes with some duties that you have to accept. There's a rites of passage. There is, being a good father, being a good community leader, being a positive role model. Those are just things that, those are some of the values that we have built our foundation on as an organization. So, and it's a challenging value. And one of the things we also do too is we meet every week, just so, because, being out there is a lot of, things that, you gotta sometimes kind of let out amongst a group of other men. So we meet, we kind of, talk about some of the issues that we may have been dealing with personally or even on the field. Just a way to kind of decompress and kind of heal ourselves, because you got to be whole to be able to do this type of work, to be able to be in confrontational situations and still keep calm, to just have the right type of mindset when you're out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're doing amazing work. And we will do this again.
Yeah.
So we don't have to get it all into this
I wanted to mention though.
Real quick. Because
Real
it's
quick.
12:05. You know where to go, man.
I want to mention we're also creating Peacekeeper Cadet training. So we have a training a curriculum that we have been creating for the last probably 6 weeks. So this is also part of that holistic community safety model. We want to implement this training in the schools and in the park board. This training covers some of the things that we were talking about, but it's basically empowering youth and families to be able to realize conflict when it happens, and to become mediators, to be, to feel confident in, kind of mediating a situation before it even happens. So the Peacekeeper Cadet training will consist of conflict resolution, de-escalating tactics, like some of the titles that you mentioned. We talk about, we'll be training about CPR and just all those different key aspects to kind of empower youth and families to be partakers of their own safety and the community safety as well. So
awesome.
I'm really excited about the curriculum. It's dope.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to see it.
We got a template. I'll send it to you.
That's
dope.
what's up.
Yeah.
Charles, thank you so much. We're going to wrap it there.
Yeah,
Appreciate you always.
Appreciate you. Yeah. Let me show you. Oh, I got it on my phone right now. I'll show you.